if they're done correctly, they're very hard to break. And you can put almost anything into a prenup with some exceptions, but they're absolutely enforceable.
Maybe you signed a prenuptial agreement before you married, but now things have changed. Can you challenge a prenup in the state of Texas? That's what we'll find out today on our episode of Ask the Lawyer. Hi, everybody. I'm Judy Maggio with AskTheLawyers.com, and our guest today is Austin attorney Jimmy Vaught. Before we get started, remember, if you want to ask Jimmy a question, simply go to the top of the page on AskTheLawyers.com, click on that button that says Ask a Lawyer and ask away, or you can simply call the phone number you'll see on the screen during our conversation. Jimmy, great to see you again. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you, Judy. It's good to see you again.
Well, I know you have lots of experience with drafting these prenups, but have you done much litigating of them in court?
Not a whole lot. And the reason is because if they're done correctly, they're very, very hard to break. Occasionally, I can't think of any of mine that have ever been challenged, although hopefully I'm not putting a hex on myself. But I do see cases, once other large drafted, that either don't really follow the family code, or come out of something at the online, prenup in a box kind of thing. But I can't think of any that have actually ever been challenged.
So those are some of the circumstances that you just mentioned. But I've heard people say actually that those prenups are just not enforceable. How do you answer that?
Well, like I said, if they're done correctly, they're very hard to break. And you can put almost anything into a prenup with some exceptions, but they're absolutely enforceable.
So I'm wondering what happens if a couple, say, acquires property after this prenup is signed. Is that addressed in the contract?
Essentially, yes, and it kind of depends on what the folks want. But essentially, everything there's schedules of assets, and anything that either is generated by that or the money comes from that is going to remain separate property of the folks.
What about if circumstances have drastically changed, though, Jimmy?
Doesn't matter. And so let's say, for example, if folks got married, they had a 401k, let's say, and let's say, not unlike recently, the value of 401k goes, off the roof, or they bought Apple when it was, just starting out, and now it's worth, $1 million. That doesn't impact the division of property if they get divorced.
I'm wondering about kids. So what if a couple has a prenup and then has children? What role does child support play in something like this, and child custody? How is that covered under these prenuptial agreements?
Well, actually, child support it's not addressed in a prenup. That's real specific in the statutes. And child custody really, you can put something in there about, custody, but it's not going to be binding on the court. It's more aspirational than it is enforceable.
How common is it for these prenuptial agreements to be changed, and how can they be changed down the road?
Well, anytime, and virtually all prenups have language in there that they can be amended in the future if the parties agree to do it by agreement. And sometimes you have things like, let's say that the prenup is going to be in effect for 5 years, let's say, and then it's going to be terminated or it's going to be renegotiated. That I've seen that a couple of times, but most of the time it just stays the same.
I'm wondering, how common are prenuptial agreements? We think of them as something that only the wealthy have, but that's probably a misconception.
I think you're right. A lot of times I've seen people who don't have a whole lot who are on prenup. A lot of times what we see prenups that folks, and give you an example, let's say before they get married, one of the parties their family has like a family business, and usually it's the family that wants a prenup, and so there's a prenup done that actually makes it crystal clear that whatever the potential spouse's interest in the family business is going to be separate property.
Very good. Lots of great information today. Thank you so much for being with us, Jimmy.
Thank you, Judy.
That's going to do it for this episode of Ask the Lawyer. Don't forget that if you want to ask questions about your situation, go to askthelawyers.com, click on the Ask a Lawyer button, or simply call that number on your screen. My guest today has been Austin attorney Jimmy Vaught. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Judy Maggio with Ask the Lawyers.